How much have America's richest saved for retirement? Honestly, probably less than you think. According to a new survey, the top 10% of households by net worth had an average of $1.29 million in their retirement accounts. Now, you might out there, be listening saying, I don't have nearly that much. You might have 500,000 and you're going to be just fine. But someone who saved 5 million might be in trouble. It really depends on person to person. Have you ever had a client come in who looked great on paper, but it was their spending that had them headed towards trouble?
Yeah, that is one of the challenges is, what is a safe withdrawal rate in retirement time? And, spending money can be somewhat of a challenge. I was kind of surprised, Dave, when I saw the number and it said the top 10% of households by net worth had an average of $1.29 million in their retirement accounts. When I was thinking the top 10% by households, I would have thought that balance would have been quite a bit bigger. No matter the size that you have, again, whether you have 500,000 or 5 million, how you take money out of that account can dramatically impact what's going to be the long-term success of that. In fact, during the show, we're going to talk about other type of risks that are associated that can have a negative impact for those of you that are transitioning into retirement time, like sequence of return risk. But, when I look at it, the most common cited safe withdrawal rate is 4%, and that 4% rule, it kind of originates back in 1994, which was a study that was done by a financial planner who found out that withdrawing 4% of the retirement portfolio in like a 60% equities and 40% bond type portfolio, adjusted for inflation, would typically allow the portfolio to last for 30 years. A couple of things, though, when I think about how people run through their money a little bit quicker in excess spending is one of the things is, planning for the healthcare in the 3 different phases that you have for healthcare. That healthcare phase, if you're going to retire before the age 65, identifying how to, get through the navigation of the Affordable Health Care Act, because it's an income, not an asset test when you end up drawing benefits and say age 62, retire, and you're going to collect from affordable health care. How you position where you take money from in that time frame can make an impact. Your Medicare premiums can be impacted by things like, say, paying off the mortgage or taking extra withdrawals from the account. And then way down the road, if we think about excess spending, an overwhelming majority of the time that excess spending comes from people needing some type of long-term care. The other thing that I would say in my 30 years of experience, when I think about excess spending, people have this big bucket of money, right? The money they can find the access for retirement time. And so what they do is they will sometimes make some decisions to go out and, take on a lot of debt at retirement time. Maybe that's the desire to have a dream home down in Florida and have a place that you could go and get away in winter, or maybe it's to change and swap out the house that you have now with something bigger and better for the next phase of your life. But taking on a lot of debt in retirement time, or quite frankly taking on any debt in retirement time, is something that I would generally argue against doing. If you're going to transition into retirement time, sure, who doesn't want to go to Florida when it gets a little cold here in Northwest Ohio? But maybe for the first couple of years, you do an Airbnb and rent out a place for a couple of months, a couple of weeks, kind of test drive that before you get pot committed, to having some type of major expense inside of there. The third is, I would say it's important to make sure that you're covering your reliable income sources with things that are predictable income. That's going to be your Social Security, your pension, your annuity income. When you look at your needs, now I'm talking needs, not wants. When you look at your needs, you want to have that covered in reliable income sources. The excess money that you have, or the growth part of the portfolio, that money can go into the stock market. And when you have excess growth, when the market exceeds what your desired outcome is, maybe those are the years that you spend a little bit more, get the roof fixed, put that new deck that you wanted on the back, take that extra vacation or the one you've always dreamed about, spend it when you have those excess years. But you do have to be careful, because at the end of the day, I tell people, look, it's your money, you can spend it however you want, but it's got to last you forever. I don't know, when you talk to retirees, Dave, what are you telling them about, what is a safe withdrawal rate in retirement?
3.5% to 4%. I am a longtime believer in that 4% rule. The problem that I see happening with a lot of retirees is that when they plan for a purchase, it could be a car, it could be a roof for their house, it could be a vacation, if they're taking that money from the same IRA they're drawing income from, that can really throw a monkey wrench into the long-term viability of the portfolio. So you know what, in a perfect world, it'd be nice if everyone had a discretionary spending account that wasn't in a retirement plan where you had X, hopefully hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in an account that if you want to buy something, you can buy it and pay cash so you don't have to take on debt.
Mm-hmm.
But when you take excessive withdrawals, if you're drawing 4%, and then all of a sudden the client calls up and says, oh, I need $20,000 because I need to put a new roof on the house, that really can stress those numbers quite quickly. And it seems like a lot of times when we mention to people how much money they can draw, that number seems to go up.
It really does. You know, you might start out with, say, $2,000 a month, and maybe that falls into that 3.5 or 4% range. But when you start tapping your retirement account for $30,000 for a car, or $20,000 for a roof, or $10,000 for a vacation, you've got to add that in addition to the $2,000 a month, because that's really what your total withdrawal rate is. So if you're worried about your withdrawal rate, if you're worried about what is the strategy to take out the best amount of money for your retirement, to have confidence in our retirement team action plan. We can stress test the scenarios and run 3,000 possible outcomes to show you, what could be a safe withdrawal rate for your retirement. So if you're not sure, let us know. We can run that retirement team action plan and help you crunch the numbers.
It's easy as reaching out and giving a call to the team, 419-794-3030. Once again, that's 419-794-3030, or going to the website arhq.com. Nolan, you may have seen me scratching down on this pad of paper here very ferociously. The 4% rule, the 4% withdrawal plan, this was implemented in 1994, as you mentioned. You also mentioned that you have 30 years in the industry, which means that you were starting out when this 4% rule was a pretty much a brand new, fresh idea. What was your stance on it then when it was this new idea, and has that changed over the past 30 years?
Well, I've looked at this 4% rule, and, I would say conceptually I would agree that the 4% rule makes a ton of sense. What is a little bit different today than in the past is, the 60-40 mix when you had a lot of money in bonds. The challenge that I saw of the 4% rule a couple of years ago is, you had a large part of the portfolio that was in kind of a dead asset class because of where yields were, where interest rates were, and that interest rate risk that we had talked about here on the show. Now, what's changed today is if we look at where interest rates are significantly higher here in 2024, maybe not using bonds, but some other traditional fixed accounts, whether it's a CD, a fixed annuity, or an indexed annuity. When you look at how that runs in a stress test scenario, it makes it a lot stronger. So it's important to make sure that you're learning about rules that were written 30 years ago, but applying today's economy to your portfolio to make sure that you're keeping up with the times, because there are opportunities in today's environment to make sure that you're locking in some higher rates to help solidify that 4% withdrawal rate.
It's okay to know that your opinions on it may have changed, and it may change over the course of your retirement. And also knowing that these rules of thumb, they are not ironclad. 4% may actually be the right withdrawal rate for you. It may be a little bit more. It may be a little bit less. It really depends on your particular circumstances. And to find that out, again, America's retirement headquarters is as easy as reaching out, 419-794-3030. Schedule a time to speak with them, that retirement team action plan, or go to the website, and that's arhq.com.